Okay, I think it's, yeah. Well, it's live. It is live on YouTube now.
Okay, so I should begin then?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to, I assume most people who are on this will be having their own book in their hand. Or we can look to page 1, Bhagavad Gita, as it is, page 1, introduction. And we can do as an invocation, we can do the Sanskrit mantras to honor the acharyas of the past. Is everyone ready for that?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, good. So we'll begin then. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jitapadikamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagna Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvetam Sadvarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagna Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidhanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sandhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll just talk. We could we're going to do 18 chapters of this Gita study, and we will, each time we get together, we can break up our presentation into sections.
Okay.
I thought we could do a nice summary of the chapter. You can flip pages at that time, and then while we're doing that, I could, when I'm completed that, I'll highlight some areas.
Okay, Maharaj.
And then we can leave it open for devotees to discuss what's relevant, how it relates to their life, what they just read, and possible solutions too. Okay, so chapter 1, it starts off, first of all, I'd like to say, as an introduction, we have 700 shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 1, there's 46, so it's a small portion. And out of all those verses, there are not too many that are quoted very often from chapter 1. But a lot of people know verse 1 just because it is the first verse. And here's how it goes. Even if we don't know the meaning, it's purifying to hear the verse. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetri kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsava mamaka pandavaschaiva kim akurabhuta sanjaya. Translation. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? So we'll just discuss, we'll go through some of the verses then. Dhritarashtra, as we know, he's the blind member of the Kuru dynasty. He has been pronounced as king, even though he's blind. Providence had it that he became the king. And because his sons, numbering 100, and their cousins, known as the Pandavas, numbering 5, couldn't get along with each other. And therefore, there was war. And the Bhagavad Gita starts off, it's a war that starts off by speaking about peace. It's the calm before the storm, you can say. Dhritarashtra has a secretary, he has an assistant, and his name is Sanjay. And Sanjay was given the blessing by the sage Vyasadeva to see what's going on the battlefield several miles north of Delhi in the place called Kurukshetra. So Dhritarashtra is the first person to speak in the Bhagavad Gita as we know it, but he's actually asking a question. And his question is, so what's going on? What is the situation between my sons and my nephews, the Pandavas? Then verse number 2, you can flip the pages if you like. Verse number 2 is Sanjay speaking. The king's secretary is saying this, that Duryodhana, your head son, he's looking at the Pandava army. And then in verse 3, he's saying that he's looking at he's viewing the Pandava army. And he's speaking to his guru, his martial arts guru. And then verse 4 to 6, he's naming the warriors on the Pandava's side. And no doubt they are remarkable fighters, warriors, administrative people. He's noting that it's a strong army. And therefore, he names them categorically. That's from verse 4 to 6. In verse 7 to 9, he's still speaking. Duryodhana is still speaking. He said, but look who we have. Here's our list, and names are given. And then there's verse 10 to 11. And Duryodhana there is saying, we have very competent people. The Pandavas have competent people, but we have also competent people, good military men. And we have got the numbers. It's not mentioned here, but Duryodhana had 11 Akshahinis. That's military divisions. That means so many men on foot, so many men on horseback, or let's say on chariots, so many chariots and so many horses. That's what makes up one Akshaihini. And then we understand that the Pandavas had less. They had only 7 Akshahinis against the Kauravas 11. So if you ever have trouble remembering those numbers, it's 7 and 11, just
Oh.
like the door. Whenever I see a 7-Eleven shop, I think of the Pandavas and the Kauravas.
Oh,
So that's, and of course, these numbers rhyme in English at least. 7, 11. All right. So it should be easy to remember.
Yeah, Gopal.
Then verse 10 to 11, Duryodhan continues to talk. Yes, so we just covered that. He says, we have a better situation. He's being a little bit proud. Okay. So then verse 12 and 13, flip back to Sanjay, the secretary, and he's saying to the king that Bhishma is blowing his conch. Bhishma, of all the warriors, by the way, in this battle, great battle attempt, Bhishma is the most celebrated, the most respected of all. And he's blowing his conch shell, which indicates that the fight will soon begin. Because he is the elder, therefore he's given that position to blow the conch. Then Sanjay tells Dhritarashtra about, he paints the picture very nicely. And he said, well, there's white horses coming, and there's a chariot, and that chariot is drawn by Krishna. And the passenger is Arjuna. And they are blowing their conches. That is Krishna and Arjuna, not the horses. They don't blow conch shells. Horses don't do that. And the whole idea behind the conch blowing, it's a little bit like a war cry. We're now about to begin. The ritual is about to begin. The show will start. It has begun. Because the sun has risen. It's coming up over the horizon. Then the conch shells blow, and then it's time to attack. So text number 16, 17, 18, Sanjaya continues to talk, and he's explaining Yudhishthira is coming now, and others, and he's seeing them, he is viewing them. And then he also mentions that Yudhishthira and others are now also blowing their conch shells. So in text 19, it's kind of critical, because this is what Dhritarashtra doesn't want to hear. And what did he hear from Sanjay? He said that when the conch shells were blown on the side of the Pandavas, it upset the Kauravas. He said it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. So you can imagine that Dhritarashtra must be really in difficulty to hear this, that the conch shells intimidated the Kauravas. He didn't want to hear that, but that is what actually happened. And the sound of the conches were somewhat foretelling the truth, that who's going to be victorious. There's several signs that indicate that the Pandavas will win. And one of them was the sound of the conches. Another one is that Arjuna has on his flag, on his chariot, the insignia, an insignia of Hanuman. And Hanuman represents victory. So that's one auspicious thing. And also we may take note that Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas, even though he's not armed, he is driving the chariot. And it is noticed that because Krishna is there, there's sure to be victory on the side of the Pandavas. So those are three things at least to indicate the prophecy that will prophesize who will be victorious. So now we're going to look at, after Dhritarashtra got the shock of his life to hear that, Sanjay then describes Arjuna. And Arjuna's looking at the army. You see, a lot of what affects people's lives is when you look at something, you can look at an object or a person, and it stirs up in you some kind of emotion. So Arjuna was looking at the army, and he didn't take a real penetrating look like what is about to come. Text 21, 22, 23. Now Arjuna is talking to Krishna. This is the first time Arjuna says anything, and he's talking to Krishna. In the Gita, he's the only one, he only talks to Krishna and no one else. So he says, take my chariot between the two armies. Why? So that he can have a closer look. He already looked at the Kauravas. He already looked at his own army. He knows who he has. He knows who are the allies. But now he wants to have a harder look at the people that are lined up against him. Okay? So now we have 24 and 25. Krishna drives the chariot between the two armies. And now Krishna speaks and he says, behold, all those who are assembled here. So that's the first time Krishna jumps on the bandwagon, so to speak. Now this time Arjuna is closer. He has a more penetrating look. And now he sees his family. And by seeing his family, people such as Bhishma, and also teacher like Drona, and also his own cousins, Duryodhana, whom he didn't really get along with, it did stir up things inside for him. And he went through emotions of compassion and also depression. So naturally, he has feelings, right? And he's thinking, they are my people, they're my cousins, they're my kith and kin, and he gets emotional. So then in 28, 29, 30, Arjuna says that he admits to Krishna, I'm getting weak, I don't know what's happening to me, but my limbs, my legs are shaking, my mouth is parching, it's drying up, the hairs on my body are standing on end, my skin is burning, my mind is reeling, it's going in a spin. And finally he says something about how he lowers himself. He doesn't even have enough strength to stand up. So this is a real pitiable situation, you can say. Then in verse 31, 32, 33, Arjuna, after admitting that what's going on, what he's physically going through, the symptoms, he starts to speak. He tries to speak like a pundit. He said, nothing good will come from killing family. He's looking at his family, his cousins, uncle, etc. And he said, there won't be any victory for anyone in this kind of a war. How can there be victory? And then he asked the question, it's verse 35, it says, they may want death. That means the Kauravas, they may want death, they may want to kill us, but we don't want to kill them. We're a different kind of people. Verse 36, he said, they are aggressors. We know that about them. They tried to disrobe Draupadi. They tried to poison us. They tried to burn down our house. And so many things like that. A cannibal came after them, came after us, you know. So Arjuna is saying that they are kind of a criminal group, but they still are our family. And so they don't deserve to die. And he's asking the question, maybe more to himself. He's trying to talk to Krishna about his thought patterns. And he says, no happiness will come to us with this war. No happiness. Okay. So you know what I'm going to have to do? My battery's low. I'll have to get the charger. So give me 40 seconds or so. Okay? Thank you. And you can, when I get back to you, simply think about any questions that you may have. All right? Okay, I'm still with you. I'm going to get a cable. Sorry about that.
Come behind me. No, come here. Okay, go.
Here I am.
Okay, Mark.
Oh, he was going to play guitar. Okay, so I have a good song, and I'll sing you a couple of lines. I don't know if our guitarist, but it's related to where we are in the Bhagavad Gita. And here it is. Govinda, Govinda, I do not wish to fight. Govinda, Govinda, I do not think it's right to kill our kinsmen, our teachers, and our friends. Govinda, when will it end? Okay, Gopal can learn that song. Okay, so we'll get back to it. Do you have any questions? Are we doing okay so far? I hope that we're going through this in a nice way. Easy enough? Okay. Now, so Arjuna was speaking, and he's saying nothing, verse 31, 32, 33. Oh yeah, and we went to 35, we've gone that far. Oh yeah, he was talking about aggressors. So he's saying that the Kauravas are like I almost lost you there. Someone's trying to call me. They're a bunch of gangsters. But they do, first of all, I think they don't deserve to die. We know that they're bad, but I don't see that playing their game is going to help us. They may stoop so low as to have this war and kill, but we don't have to get down on their level. We don't have to get down to their platform. No happiness will come from this. And if we look at verse 37 and 38, he's talking about greed. Okay. Yeah, he's talking about greed. The Kauravas are blinded by greed. But we should not, again, come to their level and become greedy, because when there's greed, you are blind, right? I don't think the word blind is used here. It's not one that probably, blind is a little sensitive, talking about Dhritarashtra here. We can't be like them. We can't come to their level. So then Arjuna, he keeps, he begins to talk. If we go ahead with this war, 39, 40, 42, this will break up the family. Everyone will become immoral. And we don't want that. We don't want to see families breaking up. The women will be unprotected. Those kind of things are there, those kind of issues. And so this war cannot happen, you see. Morality will be destroyed. Text 43, and he's talking about, I've heard from parampara, or authorities. I've heard from great teachers in the past that reactions will come to you if you destroy family traditions. A family is something that's very sacred, especially if it's functional. And these days, people talk a lot about dysfunctional families. Arjuna is justifying his emotions, his feelings, and his responses to standing up against the Kaurava army, and he's saying, this is not right. I know it's not right. And the authorities also support my position on this. Then we have text 44. This I find is a very interesting verse from the Gita in this chapter. He's almost speaking as if in a reversal of the topic of greed. He's saying, first of all, he said a few minutes ago, a few verses back, he said, they're greedy. We shouldn't be greedy. But here in verse 44 says, looks like we're greedy for power. And therefore we want to fight. Of course, we know the truth behind everything. The Pandavas actually just wanted a little land, that's all, 5 villages, for one for each of the Pandavas. So we shouldn't be greedy, but we are greedy now. He's saying it looks like we want royal happiness, right? He says how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Yeah. So he's saying, well, it looks like we are interested in profit, distinction, adoration. Looks like we do want a big following. So you can see that these are the beginnings of Arjuna's confusion. He's getting confused about everything. And then there's verse 45. Let Duryodhana arrest, or let Duryodhana company, let them come. Let them come and kill us. But we will stand unarmed because we do not believe in this violence. So let them come. It's better that they come and arrest us instead of us coming across as warmongers and being like bullies. Let them be the bullies then. I'm detached. Right? So then verse 46, he drops his Gandiva bow, and then he shows that he's a broken man. He puts down his bow and he lowers himself. He has no strength. Sometimes we feel like that too. I don't feel like getting up in the morning. I don't feel like I need to chant my rounds. I don't feel like doing puja today. Oh, offering food and making a prasadam. too much of a hassle. It's too much for me. So this is a mode of ignorance, right? Tamagun. And Arjuna finally shows, it's in verse 46, that he has entered into a state of depression. Yeah, he's totally into depression. And that's how the chapter ends. And let us imagine for a minute how Dhuryoddhana Dhritarashtra is thinking about these things. First of all, he was hearing that perhaps we can win the war. Look at the armies. Look at the great military men. He's hearing his son speak, right? And then Sanjay goes along and flips it. And he says, here are the conches by the Pandavas, and they're louder than the Kauravas' conches. So this gets Dhritarashtra a little bit upset and very concerned. Now Dhritarashtra hears about Arjuna, that he's lost his sense of drive, wanting to be a warrior and fighting. So you can say that maybe Dhritarashtra is quite happy about that. Great, great. I think the Pandavas might be defeated after all. And my sons will reign as kings of the world. So Dhritarashtra is going through quite a roller coaster in his mind. And that's what's happening. So that is a little bit of an overview of chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. If we group the verses together, we realize several people are speaking here. Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Sanjay, of course, Arjuna, and Krishna. These are the people that are speaking in chapter 1. When we get to the next chapter, it's going to be a little bit of a different situation. It's going to be Krishna and Arjuna speaking, and it's mainly Krishna will have the floor most of the time. He will speak most of it. So do we have any questions about the historical details of the Gita?
Maharaj, I was thinking about when you said before the war starts, they blew the conch shell. Compare that to the scenario these days where they have surprise attacks. So
Yeah.
it's a Dharmic war, no matter what the war was.
Yes, right. So you're drawing a comparison, and I know this is a topic that devotees have discussed for decades now. And it's true. These were valiant warriors, and they stood up against each other. They were face to face. It was like, as we say, they were being man to man, right?
Yes.
Straightforward, no sneakiness, no trickery. Let's just be straight shooters, so to speak. And that's a far cry from the way war is conducted now. You camouflage, you hide, you have to be very, let's say, cunning. And whereas that was not the style of warfare in the Vedic times. That's what I'm trying to say.
And they fought only during the daytime, not at night.
Yes, and if you look at the Mahabharata, you'll see that the warriors would oftentimes come together and they would party together. The two enemies came together and they would have dancers, there would be some drinks, and so on. They were relaxing amongst each other. And so they were honoring the codes of the day, which is do not take up any arms in the nighttime. It is the time to rest. Yeah, so it was quite commendable how it was done in the old days. I think that's a good point that you brought up. It says a lot about Vedic civilization and the way people were. They were quite direct. and they were not cunning. That's not the way warfare was conducted, like the way what we have going on now. It's very sad. And if you really want to get somebody stirred up, then you target innocent citizens, which is what happens. In the World War, they were just shooting down on people, innocent people. They didn't go into a field way out in the countryside and iron out their differences there. They were just, making with their hand grenades and their bombs from above and from the army tanks. They were laying out flat, normal citizens. That is not the way it was done in the times of the past. I think what you're talking about is that it's a feature of Kali Yuga, the way war is conducted now. Yeah. Any other points you want to raise?
No, just a couple of comments from YouTube saying Hare Krishna, nothing else.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you, Hare Krishna. And what I wanted to say, it struck me quite significantly when I looked at these verses more clearly at the end, when the topic of greed comes up. First of all, Arjuna is making a claim. We Pandavas are not really greedy. We just want some justice, some fairness. But then later on, as his confusion increases, he admits, we are greedy. Otherwise, we wouldn't be at war. And we're going to be enjoying everything stained with blood. We don't really want that. We don't want to go there. So Arjuna is like he says, my mind is reeling. So he's not thinking straight right now. And that's why Krishna comes in and sets him straight. Krishna, who goes like this, he's going like this, the chakra is going like this. And Krishna is holding on, grabbing a hold of Arjuna and said, hey, let's get something straight here. Krishna was trying to calm his emotions and his feelings.
Maharaj, I have a question. One more.
Yes.
I don't know if it's true. I have heard when Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Krishna froze time in such a way that nobody realized that was happening. Is that true? Have you heard that?
I'm having a little hard time hearing your
Such a way that nobody realized that was happening. Is that true? Have you heard that?
You might have to type out the question, or you might have somebody else has to say it, perhaps. I'm getting an incredible echo. There's an echo, I can't hear it. Maybe somebody should type it out.
Yeah, just speak on that one. Let's speak on that one. We'll just speak on that one.
Can you all hear me? Am I heard? Can you all hear me?
Maharaj, can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj, we can hear you.
Am I heard?
Yes, Maharaj.
Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Can you all hear me?
Maharaj,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj, we can hear you. Oh.
Am I heard?
Yes, Maharaj.
Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Can you all hear me?
Maharaj,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj, we can hear you. Oh. Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, you have a question then? Let's try it out.
Let's try it again. I've heard, I don't know where I heard from, but I've heard.
Wait.
Okay, you have a question then? Let's try it out.
Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Yes, I can.
I don't know where I heard from.
Okay, there's something wrong with the mechanics.
Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Yeah, it's in a loop.
Gopal, are you coming to the rescue? Mis- Okay, there's something wrong with Okay, I'm unmuted.
All right, it's fixed. Okay.
Let's give it another shot.
Just saying.
Maharaj,
Okay, I'm
can you hear me?
unmuted. Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, so
Let's give it another shot.
when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, did he freeze time in such a way that nobody could?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, so
Let's give it another shot.
when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, did he freeze time in such a way that nobody could?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, so
We definitely have mechanical difficulties.
The easier it's gonna happen. Make it easy then, and then you start it up. So maybe we can try one more time, Maharaj.
So if you have any questions, do you want to email me?
So maybe we can try one more time, Maharaj.
It's not working. So then should we get together next week?
Okay, it's not working. It's again on the loop. Try one more time. Yeah.
It's not working.
One way to do this is everyone who is
So then
in the.
should we get together next week?
Okay, it's not working. It's again on the loop. Try one more time. Yeah. We can all log out. We can all come out of the meeting and rejoin. That we can do.
So then should we get together next week?
Okay, it's not working. It's again on the loop. Try one more time. Yeah. We can all log out. We can all come out of the meeting and rejoin. That we can do.
Okay. Sounds like a very I think I better exit.